Greetings and salutations, comrades. Hope this finds you well. Just wanted to share a quick chapter from this great text, Mao's Little Red Book, book of different quotes from Mao Tse-Tung. Particular, wanted to read chapter 27, which is titled Criticism and Self-Criticism, which, is a hallmark of any good Marxist-Leninist is being able to engage in self-criticism, reflecting on your views, your outlook about, different aspects of your, political ideology. And if you're presented with new evidence, new ways about looking at things, you need to be able to, take those into account and, change your views, accordingly, right? If the, evidence supports you, adopting a different viewpoint. But I feel like this is definitely something, I and a lot of people, on the left need to get better at. Definitely, so that's why I want to share this chapter, right? The Communist Party does not fear criticism because we are Marxist. The truth is on our side, and basic masses, the workers and peasants, are on our side. That was speech at the Chinese Communist Party's National Conference on Propaganda Work, March 12th, 1957. Next one. Thoroughgoing materialists are fearless. We hope that all our fellow fighters will courageously shoulder their responsibilities and overcome all difficulties. Fearing no setbacks or gibbies, I don't know what that is, nor hesitating to criticize us communists and give us their suggestions. He who is not afraid of death by 1,000 cuts dares to unhorse the emperor. This is the indomitable spirit needed in our struggle to build socialism and communism. So again, being open to criticism, being open to critique. You're not a Marxist, you're not a communist if you're not willing to have, your views, your outlook, your actions be criticized if it's coming from, place of, constructive criticism, if they're actually substance to the critique, right? That was one more sentence. We have the Marxist-Leninist weapon of criticism and self-criticism. We can get rid of a bad style and keep the good, 100%. Like if there's problematic, views or positions that a communist, that a Marxist-Leninist has, they should be able to, reconcile with those and move on if they're presented with, criticism and evidence and rationale why, those views, those outlooks, those positions are problematic, right? Super important in my opinion. That was the report to the second plenary session of the 7th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, March 5th, 1949. So again, this was written 72 years ago and still is, relevant now as it was when Mao, wrote this in 1949, right? Conscientious practice of self-criticism is still another hallmark distinguishing our party from all other political parties. Again, like Democrats, you don't see them engaging in any type of self-criticism. Republicans not engaging in any type of self-criticism. Social Democrats, I don't really see engaging in any type of self-criticism. Republicans and Democrats, it's always, from the Republicans, it's Democrats bad. From the Democrats, it's Republicans bad. Social Democrats, it's also Republicans bad. Maybe calling out the Democrats a little bit, but not engaging in that self-criticism, right? That is a hallmark. I agree. As we say, dust will accumulate if a room is not cleaned regularly. Our faces will get dirty if they're not washed regularly. Our comrades' minds and our party's work may also collect dust and also need sweeping and washing. 100%. We need to be, challenged on our political views, on our positions, on, what we think will move, the socialist mission and, transition, dictatorship of the proletariat forward. We need to clean our minds, as Mao was saying. The proverb, running water is never stale and a door hinge is never worm-eaten, means that constant motion prevents the inroads of germs and other organisms. To check up regularly on our work and in the process develop a democratic style of work, to fear neither criticism nor self-criticism, and to apply such good popular Chinese maxims as say all you know and say it without reserve, blame not the speaker but be warned by his words, and correct mistakes if you have committed them and guard against them if you have not. This is the only effective this is the only effective way to prevent all kinds of political dust and germs from contaminating the minds of our comrades in the body of our party. Again, yeah, 100%. If people aren't being, challenged on their political ideology, their philosophy, their policy positions, those germs, that dust, to use Mao's language, will accumulate, and that could go to their heads if we're not able to engage in criticism and self-criticism in particular, right? That was on coalition government, April 24th, 1945. Next passage. Opposition and struggle between ideas of different kinds constantly occurs within the party. This is a reflection within the party of contradictions between classes and between the new and old society. If there were no contradictions in the party and no ideological struggles to resolve them, the party's life would come to an end. So that's even saying within the, Communist Party, within the, Chinese Communist Party, super important to have those internal dialogues to try to work out those contradictions, to try to work out those, opposing viewpoints, those opposing ideologies, because with that, the party's life would come to an end. Because what is the point if everybody just agrees on everything? Right? That doesn't, party would come to an end, as Mao would say. That was on contradiction, August 1937, even going further back. I mean, Jesus Christ, this Mao, definitely check out this book if you have not. It's just full of so many little nuggets and gems. You won't regret it if you haven't already read this. We stand for active ideological struggle because it is a weapon for ensuring unity within the party and the revolutionary organizations in the interest of our fight. Every communist and revolutionary should take up this weapon, but liberalism rejects ideological struggle and stands for unprincipled peace, thus giving rise to a decadent Philistine attitude and bringing about political degeneration in certain units and individuals in the party and the revolutionary organizations. That was from his book or pamphlet. Another one I would like to get to, Combat Liberalism, September 7th, 1937. So he's just talking about we stand for the active ideological struggle. Again, that's what, Marxism, Marxist-Leninism, Marxist-Leninist Maoism is all about, is working through these contradictions, working through these ideological struggles in order to, further the mission of, empowering the working class, improving socialism and working towards communism. So I think he's, again, super on point there. In opposing subjectivism, sectarianism, and stereotype party writing, we must have in mind two purposes. On to page 138 now. Learn from past mistakes to avoid future ones. Super important, obviously. And cure the sickness to save the patient. The mistakes of the past must be exposed without sparing anyone's sensibilities. 100%. Again, that's the importance of criticism and self-criticism. It is necessary to analyze and criticize what was bad in the past with a scientific attitude. Again, scientific socialism, right? So that work in the future will be done more carefully and done better. This is what is meant by learn from past mistakes and avoid future ones. Again, yeah. What is that, definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's what's, separates scientific socialism from, dogmatism or liberalism. It's actually looking at it's having a concrete analysis of the concrete conditions, looking at what was done in the past, what succeeded, and what didn't, to avoid those mistakes in the future, as Mao is talking about, right? But our aim in exposing errors and criticizing shortcomings like that of a doctor curing a sickness is solely to save the patient and not the doctor, not to doctor him to death. A person with appendicitis is saved when the surgeon removes his appendix. I've had mine removed, have you? So long as a person who has made mistakes does not hide his sickness for fear of treatment or persist in his mistakes until he is beyond cure, so long as honestly and sincerely wishes to be cured and to mend his ways, we should welcome him and cure his sickness so he become a good comrades. So again, he's talking about people that are willing to be open to, being criticized in a constructive way, and people who are willing to engage in self-criticism. They can become a good, comrade, somebody who's willing, to fight for the working people, to further socialism and work towards communism, right? We can never succeed if we just let ourselves go and lash out at him 100%. In treating an ideological or political malady, one must never be rough and rash, but adopt the approach of curing the sickness to save the patient, which is the only correct and effective method. This is from Rectify the Party Style of Work, February 1st, 1942. Another point that should be mentioned in connection with inter-party criticism is that some comrades ignore the major issues and confine their attention to minor points when they make their criticism. They do not understand that the main task of criticism is to point out political and organizational mistakes. As to personal shortcomings, unless they're related to political and organizational mistakes, there's no need to be overly critical, or the comrades' concern to be at loss as to what to do. However, once such criticism develops, there is the great danger that within the party, attention will be concentrated exclusively on minor faults, and everyone will become timid and overcautious and forget the party's political tasks. So again, what he's just basically saying there is like, don't focus on the, personal shortcomings of comrades. You just need to focus on the political and organizational mistakes in order to, further the mission of the party, of this, ideological struggle. So we're able to, continuing to improve the lives, of the working class, continuing to work towards and improve socialism as it's a process, and work towards communism, and not get so caught up in, calling out people's, personal shortcomings if they don't have anything to do with this, political or organizational work, right? That was on correcting mistakes, mistaken ideas in the party, December 1929. Wow, almost 100 fucking years ago, but still so relevant all those decades later. That's how this book, this man, his work stands the test of time. In inter-party criticism, guard against subjectivism, arbitrariness, and the vulgarization of criticism. Statements should be based on facts, and criticism should stress the political side. So that, again, yes, have a concrete analysis of the concrete conditions, as Lenin would say, and don't make it, about the, person or on a personal level. Stress the political side, as Mao said. Inter-party criticism is a weapon for strengthening the party organization, increasing its fighting capacity. In the party organization of the Red Army, however, criticism is not always of this character, sometimes turns into personal attacks. As a result, it damages the party organization as well as individuals. This is a manifestation of petty bourgeoisie individualism. The method of correction is to help party members understand that the purpose of criticism is to increase the party's fighting capacity in order to achieve victory in the class struggle, and that should not be used as a means of personal attack. 100%. I don't know how you could argue with that. If we have shortcomings, we're not afraid to have them pointed out and criticized because we serve the people. Again, pointing out the importance of being able to engage in criticism and self-criticism. If you're not able to do that, you're obviously not a Marxist. You're not a Marxist-Leninist. You're not a true communist, in my opinion, if you're not able to engage in that ideological struggle, as Mao was talking about. Let's see. Anyone, no matter who, may point out our shortcomings. If he is right, we will correct them. If what he proposes will benefit the people, we will act upon it. This is from Serve the People, September 8, 1941. As we Chinese communists, who base all our actions on the highest interest of the broadest masses of the Chinese people, and who are fully convinced of the justice of our cause, never balk at any personal sacrifice, and are ready at all times to give our lives for the cause, can we be reluctant? That's definitely rings, true for Mao. He seemed very ready and willing to, sacrifice his life for the, cause of, the Chinese Revolution that, that has been so successful to this point. China eliminated absolute or extreme poverty in 2020. Something that, China has been, struggling with forever is the issue of poverty, and they were able to alleviate that thanks to the Chinese Revolution that came about in 1949. To discard any idea, viewpoint, opinion, or method which is not suited to the needs of people, can we be willing to allow political dust and germs to dirty our clean faces or eat into our healthy organisms? Countless revolutionary martyrs have laid down their lives in the interest of the people, and our hearts are filled with pain as we, the living, think of them. Can there be any personal interest then that we would not sacrifice, in an area that we would not discard? And that's obviously a rhetorical question, because Mao obviously, believed in, personally, and, generally for, communist people struggling, for the working, class, people struggling, in this class struggle, that, they should be willing and ready to make any sacrifice. And if they, were erring in their ways, to be able to, correct them. Again, this chapter is titled Criticism and Self-Criticism, right? That was on coalition government, April 24th, 1945. Next passage. We must not become complacent over any success. We should check our complacency and constantly criticize our shortcomings, just as we should wash our faces or sweep the floor every day to remove the dirt and keep them clean. So Get Organized, November 29, 1943. Next passage. As for criticism, do it in good time. Don't into the habit of criticizing only after the event. So he's talking about being, proactive with your criticism, with your self-criticism. Don't wait till after, because if you do, that might be too late to correct it, and that could have some, damaging consequences to the material conditions, to the class struggle. So being able to engage in that process in the moment, obviously important, right? He's on point there. So that was on the question of agricultural cooperation, July 31st, 1955. Taught by mistakes and setbacks, we become wiser and handle our affairs better. It is hard for any political party or person to avoid mistakes, but we should make as few as possible. Agreed. Once a mistake is made, we should correct it, and the more quickly and thoroughly, the better. Agreed. Hard to argue with any of that, right? That was from On the People's Democratic Dictatorship, June 30th, 1949. So again, this was from Mao's Little Red Book, chapter 27, Criticism and Self-Criticism. This book, again, is just filled with so much wisdom, so many things that we can apply to, current class struggles that we're engaging in, whether in the United States or abroad. So highly recommend this text if you have not read it before. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more content. Quick shout out to the 2 Uber comrades on my channel, supporting my content, my partner, and Independent News. Definitely check out Independent News. They're a great resource. Peace. Much love.